Hello everyone and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we'll be taking a look at Voyager class Starscream from Transformers Power of the Primes. Just found this at my local Toys R Us last night. I was very excited. Really liking this line so far, so I'm definitely hungry for more. Just need Grimlock, Optimus, and Rodimus at this point. Pretty cool picture here on the side of Starscream in his combined mode, torso mode. Here are the symbols for all of the various Prime Masters. And then on the back, it says, "How will scheming Decepticon Air Commander wield the power of the Primes?" So, got your robot mode here, got your vehicle mode. Comes with this non-transforming Prime Master thing called the Seeker Enigma. Okay. He comes with the feet for the combined mode, but he can also use them as weapons, as we'll take a look. And then it shows a couple Prime Masters here on the side, so not really anything going on the top. Certainly not really anything going on the bottom. So let's go ahead, we'll get Starscream out of the packaging, and we'll take a closer look. Alright, so here is Starscream out of the packaging with everything he comes with. Here is his little Power of the Primes card. Not really sure what this element is. Kind of looks like a beetle to me. But nice orange color. Turn it over. It says Quintus. So I'm assuming that's the Prime Master. Gives life to an army of his own. There you go. So pretty cool. Fun little collectible trading cards here. Gonna put that off to the side. Not much else to do with that. Comes with this little non-transformable Prime Master unit called the Seeker Enigma. I'm not sure why they didn't give us transforming Prime Masters. I know a lot of people have said, oh, it's because they only have 13 Primes, so they can only have so many. But I feel like they could have come up with something to make this guy transformable. I mean, they could have called him the same thing, Seeker Enigma. I don't care, that's fine, but why not have it transform into a robot? That's all I'm saying. But anyway, it's colorful, it's neat. It's just a hunk of plastic, so putting that off to the side. He comes with two guns, as you can see here. Null rays, as Starscream usually has. And then you have these two feet sections. These are nice because they have this ankle tilt, which will come into play later, as we'll see. So they are identical to each other. Now you can peg in a Prime Master, Titan Master, whatever you want into each foot. They do have little spots for that. And then if you push it in, you just kind of kick it back out here. Sometimes it's a little easier said than done. There we go. So that's kind of cool. Now, how these accessories work, he can have the two guns on his arms. Again, as Starscream usually does. So if you want like a more classic look, you can just kind of put the guns like that. Of course, he can also hold the guns if you prefer that look. You can also put these things on his shoulders if you like. So you could do something like that. Or the directions also show taking the guns and plugging them into the bottom of this. And then you can put it on here. And it's kind of like a longer gun thing. This kind of reminds me of like Galaxy Force or Transformer Cybertron. Where that Starscream had those big like blades that could pop out. That's kind of what that reminds me of. But it's a neat look. Also, of course, you can, if you want to just use it as like a melee weapon, you can hold it. So you have a lot of options with the weapons. I think that's cool. There's a bunch of different ways to hold them, wield them, mount them on the shoulder. Obviously, in vehicle mode, you can also peg them into these holes on the wings. So that's going to be an option. So a lot of cool things you can do with all these weapons. I'm just going to kind of put them off to the side just for the moment so we can take a look at the figure and look at articulation and everything. So when I first saw pictures of Starscream, I have to admit I wasn't really that excited. To me, the original classic Starscream is kind of the definitive Starscream mold for me, other than the Masterpiece, obviously. But for normal, just kind of normal line figures, that deluxe Starscream that they did for the original classics was kind of perfect to me. I really loved that figure. So I was like, I don't know what's going on with this guy. Why do we even have this? But then I realized he was a torso for a Combiner Wars style Gestalt robot. I was like, okay, I'm a little bit more on board. And I've come to like it a lot. I actually, he's not perfect by any means, but he is kind of cool. He's got a lot of foil stickers that I feel like I just had to come along and really just push them down to make sure, because I feel like they're going to peel eventually. I mean, He's got these foil stickers up here. He's got them down here, here. A ton on the wings on the back. A little bit on the nose cone. So we'll see how they hold up over time. Not really much you can do. Articulation-wise, head can spin. Actually, the head's on a ball joint, so it can go up and down, side to side. Really nice, tight ratchet in the shoulder. You can hear that. Side to side and up and down. You also have a bicep swivel, 90 degrees in the elbow. Nothing for the fists. No torso rotation, but of course you have the hips out to the side, front to back. Thigh swivel, 90 degrees in the knee. Not really anything in the ankles or anything, but again, it's as much articulation as I feel like you need. You can get your poses that you want to get. The wings are on the back like this, but if you kind of want to angle them back a little bit just to get them out of the way for shoulder articulation, you can certainly do that. The other way doesn't hinder the shoulders, it's just sometimes it's in the way and it's just kind of annoying. So if you want to angle them back a little bit, you could also, there's a bend here, so if you want to angle just that section back and then put the wings like that. Again, a lot of choices, a lot of options as far as what you can do with the weapons, the posability, and I like that. I like that when you have a lot of options as to how you can display everything. I think that's pretty cool. A little bit of, you know, jet kibble here on the back, but really not too bad. Not terrible. These little pieces are kind of floppy, but they are what they are. The other thing, of course, if you want to attach a Prime Master in this mode, this little section back here opens up. I think it's mostly for the torso mode, but you certainly can do it in this mode as well if you like. So that opens up, and you can pop this in the back. Give Starscream a little boost. So, he doesn't really have a way to attach anything to like his chest. So you can either do this on his back, or you can, of course, use one of these and plug it in here, and then, you know, attach that to his shoulder or something, and give him a power-up that way. So, it's kind of funny, though. Having it on his back kind of reminds me of, like, the original Power Masters, like, you know, Darkwing, Dreadwind, Power Master, Optimus Prime. They all had the Power Masters actually connect on the back by the time you transformed them into robot mode. So that's kind of cool. Kind of makes me think of that. But yeah, overall, not a bad robot. Again, it's not perfect. It's kind of bulky in certain spots, especially the feet. And you'll see my complaint about that when we get into the transformation. But overall, the robot mode's not bad. I don't know if they'll end up trying to repaint this as Thundercracker and Skywarp. They almost always do. But I don't think you need them as... I don't think you need 3 of this mold, I'll put it that way. If you want to buy it for Starscream, I think it's worth that, but I don't think I'd buy it 3 times. But in any case, let's get into the transformation. Alright, so Starscream's transformation is not overly complicated, but it can be a bit of a pain trying to get everything to line up. And there's something going on with the legs that I will show you in a minute. So, when you start out, you have these panels here, which normally are up here like this. And there's the tiniest little nubbin right here, which you just want to make sure you clear before you bring them down, because if you kind of pull too hard, it could snap because it seems a little brittle, so just be gentle with that. But so these both fold in down here. Then you need to sandwich the legs together. So you can see how there's a tiny little tab right there, and there's a tab hole, but they don't stay together all that well, which is kind of a bummer. So they're pegged in together. Now you want to come up here and spin this entire wing assembly here 180 degrees like this. And then I like to just kind of lift up the fuselage section for now just to get it out of the way. So you can see here that this kind of little cutout goes here in the legs. And the legs just kind of accordion in and just kind of fold, and then it slides right up. But the legs almost always come completely unpegged. And they do not want to stay together on mine. I don't know why. It's really kind of annoying. But what you're going to do is you can see the fists have a little peg on the side here. And that's going to peg in right there. So you bring these down. And you got to make sure everything's lined up. And do this on both sides. And that's kind of what keeps the legs together. But they still kind of want to pop apart, as you see, which is really kind of annoying, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but You'll see then there's a tab hole right there and a tab right there, so you want to bring the wings down. And like once you get everything pegged together, it kind of stays together a little better, but it's really annoying. There you go. Once you get it all together and lined up, it stays together a little bit. Like the hands being pegged into the side of the legs and then being pegged into the wings really shores everything up. But you can kind of just see Starscream just chilling out under there. Don't forget to fold these little wings down. So, I don't know. Then you're going to fold these down. And you can see there's 2 peg holes right here where the screws are. These pegs are going to peg into those. And you're just going to kind of bring this whole assembly down. And it'll clip in. And then you got to peg in these 2 into the screw holes. And there you go. So there's your jet mode. So like I said, when you're all said and done, it's a decent jet mode. It's just that those feet don't want to stay together for some reason. I don't know why. And also just having the giant feet, like this does not collapse in any way. I mean, you could bring this around if you want to, but it doesn't really make it any better. See, the problem is this is where the combiner ports are, and they don't really have a way to move them around. So you're left with this really chunky back end on the jet. Now he does have landing gear. Or does it go this way? Yeah, I think it goes this way. There we go. So that's like to balance it. But it still looks a little weird in my opinion. So while I kind of like the robot mode, the jet mode is not the best. Just because that... Honestly, I don't even mind. Like if you just look at it like this, it's not that bad. It's when you look at it like this and you just see these giant feet just hanging off the back. If they could have just found some way to this just like fold up just the tiniest little bit, I feel like it would have been fine. Or even if just this was like thick enough that these could just fold over top of the connection port, because that's all you'd really need. And that's what I kind of felt like it should be able to do, but it's just, you know, this plastic part here just hits the blue part. Now I guess these things would have had to been comically wide, I guess, and what would keep them from stopping, I don't know. But if these could have just folded up overneath and just covered the connector ports, I feel like that would have been perfect. But they decided not to go that way. So you can, of course, bring in the accessories if you want to put the guns. You can peg them in here to the shoulder, like this. Something like that. If you would rather have them underneath the wings, you can do that as well. If you want to peg this thing in under the wings, you can do that. Although that looks kind of ridiculous in my opinion. Unless you want to have just like it's like a sidecar, just have these guys hanging out. Have them hanging out in the sidecar. Hooray, I'm getting a lift. So, I don't know. I think it's weird to peg those on the side. I don't really have anywhere good to put those in. I mean, maybe... No, that doesn't work either. So, I would put the guns probably just on the side like this. That's probably what I would do. Again, if you want to open up this little thing and put a Prime Master in there, you can. But I tried, and these guys can't really, like, ride in here. This doesn't really fit. I mean, I guess if you bent them like that, it kind of works, but not really well. So, I just say forget about it. So, yeah, again, kind of lackluster vehicle mode. Because you can just see all of Starscream right there. And there's just something about the legs. They don't really want to stay together well. And it's weird. But we'll go ahead and we'll get into the torso transformation. Alright, so I returned him to robot mode because I think it's easier to get to the torso mode from robot mode than it is from vehicle mode. The directions show you going from vehicle mode, but it pretty much has you almost completely transform him back into robot mode to accomplish it. So it is what it is. You can start off by... these panels here on the forearms lift up and they can rotate back a little bit, but before you do that, you're going to spin the fists and reveal combiner ports, and then you can see there's also a tab right there and there's a peg hole right here. So you're going to push this back and it'll peg into that peg. And then you can repeat the process on this side. peg that in. And then these are going to end up being the kind of thigh areas. You can rotate these straight up. Really tight ratchets there in the shoulders. I appreciate that. Then you can come to this area and spin this again 180 degrees like that. You're going to fold these up if they're not done so already. And you're going to have to go back and put these panels back if they're not also already done. You're going to spin the feet towards each other and then kind of collapse them again. And then they're actually going to peg together. And it's really kind of difficult to see, but way down in here you can see that there's a peg or a tab. And there's a little tab slot. And you kind of want to bring these together. Let me get this over here. And then kind of slide them into each other. You don't really peg them in. You kind of lift one up and slide it down over top of the other. But so that's going to be when you fold these down. This is going to be kind of your torso shoulder section. This is where the two combiner ports for the shoulders will be. Oops. There you go. So make sure that's all together. Then you're going to come down here to Starscream. Looks like he's doing a handstand. Open this up, which is a little easier said than done. You might have to get like a nail in here to get this panel open. I don't think there's an easier way to do this. I have trouble with this every time. Come on, there we go. Okay, so you can see that opens up like that. You're going to bring out the large combiner head. And then you can kind of push Starscream's tiny head up inside. Why is this not working? All right. There we go. Push that in. And so that's going to be on the inside now. And you can close this back up. It's really just kind of folding into the torso, pushing down into the torso. So you have this large head. You're going to pull out this blue tab and make that fully horizontal like that. And then you can spin this head around. And then these two pieces that are sticking out will peg into these little slots here on the fuselage. So you bring this up, bend it down, and then that pegs in there. And it actually keeps it a lot more solid than you would expect. Then you can bring these around and you see they have these little slots, and that's going to go on this little tab right here. So you just kind of bring those around and they just kind of loosely tab in, but it keeps it a little bit more solid. And then you can see there are little spots on the wings that are gonna, this is gonna rest in there. So you bring these in like that, and then you fold these out like this. And there you go. You have Starscream's torso mode. It's not bad. It's a little busy with kind of the panels and everything kind of sticking out here in the front, but I kind of like it. I definitely like the head sculpt. I think the head sculpt is fantastic. That gold crown, the silver face, really nicely detailed and painted. Really like the head sculpt there. And I feel like you don't really see too much. Oh, the directions do say you can bring these panels back down if you want. Push it back over the nubbin. So I think they did a pretty good job. Like, that hides the robot kibble fairly decently. I mean, the chest area, obviously, but with the head, you know, hidden, I don't think it's that big a deal. So I kind of like the torso. Not bad. I'm going to bring in some of the other ones from the, bring in the deluxes so we can get this combined into a full-on robot here. So for the feet, I'm going to use Jazz and Swoop. Jazz is pretty simplistic. You're going to just kind of unhook this whole section. And then it will actually rotate down. I'm going to unpeg that. So this whole section comes down and you can see that there's two pegs And there's 2 peg slots right there. So you just bring this down. Make sure that's back in. And there you go. And then you just extend the connector port. And then we're going to take one of Starscream's feet, peg it in, and there you go. We have 1 foot. Swoop's a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. You're going to fold in the fists. Now you can see these pegs here on the inside of the elbow. They're going to peg into these slots here on the side. So you're going to kind of bring this in 90 degrees and then peg it in there. So bend 90 degrees, peg it in, peg it in, there we go. Okay, so you have that. Then you're going to take these, the feet, and they kind of bend outward, which is not really part of the robot transformation at all, which is kind of interesting. There we go. And so that they kind of fold up like that, which is a little difficult to get done. There we go. And then they peg together. And then you take the wings and bring them down. And then you fold them in and they will peg onto the shoulders. And I think you're supposed to bring this up like that. There we go. So you can bring up the connector port. There we go. So we'll take the other of Starscream's feet and peg it in. And there we go. We have our 2 feet. Now for our 2 arms. This should be fairly easy just because it's kind of exactly how the aerial bots were done. You can kind of do whatever you want, but you can see there is a peg hole here and a peg hole here. So you kind of just do that and then put the arm up like this. I think they did a nice job of having little tabs and tab slots around to really make everything stay pretty solid. And then you're really just going to peg the legs together. I guess you can fold this down, make it a little bit, yeah, something like that. So really then you're just going to spin this around, bring in your arm / hand piece, and get this formed up. There you go. There's one of your arms. Slag's actually pretty cool. You're going to transform most of the legs back to normal. Which I guess, do I have to break this apart first? I think I do. It's been a while since I've transformed Slag or Sludge. What do they call this guy? Slug. That's what it is. It's like a combination of Slag and Sludge. Slug. Okay, so once you get the feet out, you can bring this back around and hide this inside as we usually do. Oh, you know what? Do I have to pull out the... I probably do. Pull out these pieces. Now I can hide these back inside where they go. And then just kind of push these up. And then these, there should be a little... Do they have me spin this around? I guess so. Because there's a little spot right there. There we go. So you spin this around. You can see there's a little tab slot right there, and there's a little tab. So you bring these in, do it 90 degree, and then boom, they form against the body like that. This whole head section actually lifts back like that, and then just kind of sits back like this, and then you bring out the connector port, And then you bring the torso around like that. Peg it together. Do I want to do it the other way? Would that give it more of a elbow joint? I guess it doesn't really matter. I think for aesthetic purposes, I'm going to do it the other way. The torso is really tight, which I guess is a good thing. All right. And then we're going to bring in our other hand. And peg it in. There we go. So we have our two arms. Let's put it all together. So here he is all together, and I have to say, I do like it. I really do like the Starscream torso mode. Unfortunately, there's only one Decepticon in the first wave of Deluxes, so Starscream has to rely on some Autobot assistance here. But I do like the look of it. The parts that are Starscream's, robot arms in his normal robot mode, because of his weird elbow joint, sometimes it wants to, like, swing out. You just have to be careful. To show you what I mean, this kind of moves like this, and you just kind of have to get it to kind of lock in place, and it can make the hips a little loose at times in this mode, which is kind of a bummer. But once you just kind of distribute the weight evenly, you can see he will stand. You just kind of have to pitch him back a little bit because he has a tendency to want to fall forward. But overall, I think it's a really cool torso mode. I'm looking forward to having 4 Decepticons for kind of a more unified color scheme and things like that, because I think the Autobots tend to be a little bit more, gunmetal gray. Well, I guess Starscream is kind of blue and red as well, but I'm looking for more of like a dark blue, purple kind of cohesive color scheme for this. So I think it'll look pretty cool. But yeah, I like the torso mode for Starscream. I do. I like that crown. I think that was a nice addition. I think it works. I was messing around and I got a little bit better shot, and plus I wanted to put his Prime Master in his chest. But yeah, I really like it. I think he looks pretty excellent in this mode. So I really like Starscream a lot, but that's not to say that he doesn't have problems. I think his vehicle mode is easily the weakest out of the 3 modes. I like the torso mode a lot more than I thought I would. I think the head sculpt with the crown is like really perfect. I think they did a really nice job on that. I like these new feet that they've included because I think the ankle tilt is kind of a big deal. I appreciate that a lot. The old Combiner War ports or, feet-hand combo pieces just weren't really that great. I do kind of wish that this was a transforming robot. I understand the mythology and everything, why it's not, but I feel like they could have just called it something else. I don't know why they couldn't have given us an actual transforming Prime Master with this. I mean, not to say that this isn't cool. I like it, but I think it's just kind of a bummer. When you have the main gimmick, obviously it's not included with the Legends class. It wasn't with Titan's Return either. But with Titan's Return, the Deluxe class had Headmasters, the Voyager class had Headmasters, the Leader class had Headmasters. With this gimmick, the only way to get actual Prime Masters is from the $5 Prime Master size class. Deluxe class doesn't have anything. Legend class doesn't have anything. The Voyagers and the Leader class have these kind of fake out, hollow, non-transforming ones. So, I don't know. To me, that's just kind of a bummer, and it downplays the gimmick of the line a little bit, but it's not a deal breaker for me. Overall, I would say, Starscream is okay. If you're excited for Power of the Primes, go ahead and pick them up, and there is fun to be had. But if you're picking and choosing, maybe wait for a sale, or, if they do go ahead and repaint them later on as Thundercracker or Skywarp, and you like one of those two better, maybe wait for that. I definitely think it's worth having one of this mold, but I probably wouldn't rebuy it as all 3 Seekers. Now, there's no guarantee they will do that, but they might, so it's kind of just a waiting game. Overall, I think he's all right, but he's certainly not perfect. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like and share this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at Voyager class Starscream from Transformers Power of the Primes. And as always, thank you so much for watching.